And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Coming off of this fast break inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I am picture in picture with Jeff Monken, the head coach of the Army Black Knights, reflecting on the 2024-25 season and moving forward. Coach, as always, it's my honor and my privilege. And I told you a little while back here when we were going into this season at the AAC kickoff that I had been waiting a while, and that you and I both have a mutual friend in Bob Beretta, and it had been a long time that I wanted to sit down and shake your hand and thank you for the work that you're doing at Army. So once again, welcome back to Wake Up Call.
Oh, I'm thrilled for the opportunity. I'm glad to see you again and fun to talk about our friend Bob Beretta. I think he's just an awesome guy and really proud of what he's doing.
Yeah, put a lot of work in, spent over 3 decades at Army West Point, and we know that when you talk about leadership and Bob being a piece of that, we know that Mike Buddy, who was overseeing the athletic department, has moved on from here. What was your relationship like with Mike Buddy, and just what you could say about maybe the legacy that he leaves, because you spent ample time with the Army Black Knights and obviously spent a lot of time with Mike Buddy.
Mike's an incredible guy. Was here almost 6 years and just a tremendous AD. I think all of our coaches here would agree. Just just what a great AD he was. Four coaches and two coaches, very supportive, and I mean just his presence, being at practice, being at games, and and I can't say enough for the relationship that I had with him. Really valued that, and so we wish him well. I'm excited for the opportunity he has at TCU. Mike's got a great family, his wife Tracy, and I know they're excited about this new opportunity. But he really became part of the West Point community and made a tremendous impact on our program here. Obviously, the completion of this project here at the stadium, the $170 million renovation, which isn't complete yet. It won't be done while he's here, but certainly wouldn't have been done had he not put the effort in. So his legacy will last for decades and perhaps even centuries here with that project.
And when you look at that, like you said, $170 million renovation project to the stadium, just what you've seen in your time at Army West Point of the just emphasis on building up the facilities, doing necessary things to advance and obviously progress what you're doing. I mean, we know that the United States Army is serving our military. There is a bigger job, a bigger task at hand for these student athletes who are also members of service, and that comes first. But we also know that Army West Point, you're competing collegiately in so many different sports, you being the head football coach. What can you say to the balance of being such a unique institution and at the same time seeing the leadership at Army West Point give to athletics and make sure that you have the facilities you need, you have the resources that you need to continue to build your program?
Certainly, we get support from our academy and from the government, but just in terms of our operating budget, our facilities, and the projects that we do, most of that money, and for some of those projects, 100% of that money is privately funded. And so it's money that has to be raised. It's not taxpayer dollars that are building a new stadium here.
Yeah.
That's all on the generosity of our donors, many of our former players, people that love West Point. And we did a practice field here a few years back, Goldstein Field, which right here at our facility, we had a turf field. We have a beautiful indoor facility, the Foley Center, that was much in part to the generosity of Bill Foley, who is also the president of the or the owner of the Las Vegas Golden Knights NHL hockey team. Is a just one of our tremendous graduates and really proud to have that facility. But what we lacked was the outdoor space. We had a grass field that was kind of like the surface of the moon, and so through the generosity of the Goldstein family, the Lichtenberg family, we were able to build Goldstein Field, and now we have two full practice fields there along with our indoor facility. So, projects like that really is the generosity of so many of our folks that love West Point. A lot of them alumni and some that aren't. And so we're able to move the program forward and build the facilities that make this an elite sports program along with one of the best academic institutions in the world.
You made mention of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and obviously that connection and the give back from somebody who calls Army West Point home. I'm not surprised now because you get attracted to the Army Black Knight logo, and then you look at the Las Vegas Golden Knight logo, and there's some similarities there. So are you willing to admit that you're a Golden Knight fan since they look so much like West Point? Can we say that or no?
Oh, I'll always cheer for Mr. Foley's team, just as I do Mr. Viola's team, the Florida Panthers, both proud graduates. The trouble being they played each other in the Stanley Cup each of the last 2 years, and it's hard to cheer for one to beat the other. But we were cheering for both of them, and we're really excited to see that each of them won a Stanley Cup in the last 2 years. So that, I mean, really incredible to see West Point graduates at the very top of their industries and certainly in professional sports.
And I definitely want to unpack football, and we will, but I want to stick with this for a second when we speak on alumni. When you look at the just vast culture and this ever growing family of the Army Black Knights, when you see this, like you said, you're cheering for this alum here and this other alum here and at the tops of their industry and whatnot, to kind of showcase that and spotlight that a little bit more, even beyond football, that the alumni base of Army West Point and just what that means to you and just what we can say about that, that this isn't just a family that spent time together on a campus. This is a family that has gone out into the world and been successful, because I don't think we talk about enough of these stories. We talk about a game in the moment at the time, but what is this person doing 20 years from then, 10 years from then, 30 years from then? And you just mentioned a couple, just what the alumni base has meant to you, the hands that you've shaken, the conversations you've had, and just what you can say about this greater family and the success of getting an education at Army West Point.
You can reach into just about any industry and find elite leaders that are West Point graduates as part of that industry. And whether it's, as we said, professional sports, and we actually have two of our graduates that are playing in the Super Bowl this weekend. Really excited about that. Brett Toth playing for the Eagles and Cole Christensen with the Kansas City Chiefs, already a two-time Super Bowl winner. So that's really incredible for us. But to see graduates who have risen to the highest levels of public service as president of the United States, as state governors. Uh, our history books are littered with generals and military leaders that have changed the history of the world. Um, Astronauts in the NASA space program, um, Fortune 500 CEOs, you name it. West Point's got it. And so it's just incredible to see that list of people and to be able to share in that pride. And it is a source of pride for us as an institution, and it's a source of pride for our football program to be able to tell people and tell others that are considering West Point about our graduates and the things that they do, and the fact that they rise to the highest levels of leadership in industries, even outside of the military.
And you mentioned here with Jeff Monken, the head coach of the Army Black Knights football program, you had made mention of the fact that in the nation's highest form of football, in this big game championship, Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, that on both sides of this, no matter who wins, Army's going to win because there's an alum there. I I love putting emphasis here and a spotlight here because the military, I mean, the amount of service that you have to give and the things that you have to do, but there's this notion that I can't stand, I'm sure you can't either, of that the military academies can't compete with the big boys, so to speak. They can't hang here. They're not going to make it to the NFL. They're not going to do this and that. And obviously, that's been refuted. And when we look at the championship and the fact that the Lombardi Trophy is on the line, and somebody from Army is going to be hoisting that, and the other person is going to be a runner up of 32 NFL franchises. What can you say about the level of competition, the level of student athlete, and what it means to you to know that no matter whoever wins the NFL championship this season, Army will be well represented with both of those teams, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs?
Both of those guys are in great company, elite company, just to be in the National Football League. It, those are the best football players in the world, and it is incredibly competitive just to make a team.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of those guys, and it'll be fun to watch the game and to know that those guys are a part of that great game, which will be viewed by more people around the world than any football game this entire year. So pretty awesome for those guys. I think here we're not we're not in the same conversations with the biggest schools for 4 and 5 star prospects. It's just not that we wouldn't like to recruit those guys, and not that we don't make an effort, but frankly, it just when it all shakes out, that we're not in the conversation with those guys. So our players are developmental. We take players that perhaps get looked over or passed over now more than ever with the changing landscape of recruiting in college football. There are prospects out there that we take as high school players and we bring in here and truly just have to develop them. And both of those guys, Brett Toth and Cole Christensen, were both good high school players, but they were developmental guys, just as their teammates and members of this brotherhood like Elijah Riley and John Radigan and Andre Carter, who are all on NFL rosters. Those guys were developmental. So we work really, really hard with our guys to try to maximize who they can be. And I think that's what West Point does better than anything. They take these young men and women that come to school here who are incredible leaders in their communities and in their schools, but something happens to them here, just the development that happens as leaders that turns them into elite world-class leaders. And so that's what this academy and our football program and the 47-month experience is all about, is to maximize who these young people can be and to develop leaders of character to serve our nation.
And Jeff, when you hear that, like you said, in the not that you don't want to be in the conversations with the top athletes that are coming into college football from high school or prep school, wherever it may be, when you hear military academies, armies not going to bring the toughest players, there's not a lot of strength, they're not tough enough, they're not talented enough. I don't believe in that, but I'd love for you to speak to it because you're in it every single day. When you hear they can't push guys around, they're not tough, they don't have the stature, they don't have the ability, I'd love to get rid of that. And I'd love for it to come from somebody who lives in that world every single day, because I don't see an Army team that doesn't have strength, doesn't have toughness, doesn't have talent, doesn't have ability, doesn't set records, and doesn't challenge teams from all over the country. You're in the American for the first time ever and you won it. So when you hear there's something lacking in Army, what is your reaction to that?
Well, I don't know that anybody would argue that our guys aren't tough enough. We got some tough guys on our team, and most people would acknowledge that. In terms of the talent level, I think that's where we'd probably get some argument, and you'd frankly probably get some argument from me. I don't know that we're more talented than other teams that we play, but we're not void of talent. We got some talented players on our team, but all our guys are developmental. They come in and they need to grow and get stronger and improve their fundamentals and maximize who they can be as individuals for us to really get all we can out of our team as a unit. Um, the most talented players don't win the games. the best teams win the games. Now, if a team is incredibly talented and they're a great team that plays together, they're going to be really, really difficult to beat. And as we watched the playoffs this year, that was the case. Those were all very talented football teams that played really well together as a team, and they were tough to beat all year. And there were some really competitive, great games in the playoffs, and it's fun to watch football at that level. Um, what our guys, I think, are really a prime example of is that good people, hardworking people, people that have pride and play for something bigger than themselves, can collectively do some pretty special things. And that's really what we strive to be. We strive to be a team that plays well together, plays good, sound, fundamental football, and then we try to maximize our guys physically through our strength and conditioning program. It's a training program. Our strength staff does a terrific job. Our offensive line, though, we weren't the tallest, longest group of guys, uh, even amongst the teams we played this year, and certainly not in college football. We were a strong offensive line. Our guys could move. Defensive linemen could move the line of scrimmage, and did that really well against a lot of, I think, really talented and good players and good teams this year. So, I'm proud of what our guys do to develop themselves and to maximize who they can be. I think there's a great sense of pride in each of them that they want to help their teammates. They want to contribute to the brotherhood and do all that they can as individuals to make our team the very best. We have a very unselfish group of guys
Yeah.
that are fully committed to the team. And I think that's what we did this year and what we've been able to do on a fairly consistent basis. I think it speaks to just the fact that when guys are playing together as a team, they're capable of doing things that are maybe beyond what they could do as just an individual.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, you can have the most talent, but if you don't have that togetherness and you don't have that unity, we've seen a lot of teams take that talent and not do as much with it as people that may not have that respect of talent, but were able to put it together. There was so many amazing things that happened this season. You said something to me off the air, and we'll get to that in a second when you talked about the most important game. Outside of that Army Navy game, though, you only had one loss. You won the American Athletic Conference. The only loss that you endured before Army Navy was to Notre Dame, who played for a national championship this year. I took the stance, much to the arguments coming back my way, that Army had earned the right to be in the college football playoff, had an 11-1 record at the time, had gone up against good competition, pushed around a Tulane team that I respect very much so, which has remnants of a team that beat USC within the last couple of years in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. 11-1 conference champion, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and a quarterback that was leading the nation and setting records for rushing touchdowns in a season in Bryson Daly. I would love to get your thoughts, and I know that hindsight is 2020, and I know we can't change it, and the College Football Playoff Committee makes these decisions. But in your opinion, based on the body of work that you did, should Army have had the opportunity, win or lose, to at least represent itself in an expanded playoff?
Number one, I think everybody would say after we lost the Army Navy game that they all got it right, that we didn't belong there, and certainly that the way we played in that game and how they beat us, and they did a great job. They played a really good football game and beat us. Um, we probably didn't belong in the playoff, but up until that point, we had a good year. Obviously, lost to a great Notre Dame team. I thought that team was really well coached. Number one, very talented, but a complete team, offense, defense, special teams, and they played like it against us. I mean, they just beat the pants off of us. And had we been able to play more competitively in that game, certainly had we won that game, I think we would have been in the conversation. But even to play more competitively in that game, I think might have given us a platform to at least for people to have an argument. And I don't have a vote on that. That's
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't lobby for that or talk about that during the season. I felt like we were playing well enough to at least be in consideration. But I also look at the one team that there's going to be one group of five team that makes it, and Boise had lost to what at the time was the number one team in the country, Oregon, by 3 points in the opening game, and had one of the best players in college football, a Heisman Trophy finalist, and they had as good an argument as anybody. So it's very difficult when there's only one team from the group of five that's going to make it. Uh, I think the conversation starts to circle around one team. And at one point, we were the highest ranked group of five team. But after losing to Notre Dame, we lost that spot. And I understand it. But it would have been really incredible to have had that opportunity, and certainly would have been exciting for our players, for our school and our program. But you got to win, and that's the bottom line. You got to win the games that are on the schedule that they give you, and we didn't win all of them, and so we didn't. I don't think we had uh, an argument there. We couldn't. I couldn't, and I wouldn't have felt like I could argue for us to be in the game after losing. So, or be in the playoff after losing. So, um, anyway, Notre Dame's a great team. Uh,
Yeah.
unfortunately, they happen to have one of the best teams they've had in many years, and we were right there on the schedule in November, and had to face them. But that ended the great run that we had going. But I was really proud of our guys and how they responded in the weeks to follow with beating UTSA to secure a home field advantage for the championship game, and then beating Tulane in the championship. Those were two great football games to finish the regular season in the championship.
And Jeff, I mean, like I said, you said off the air, and every conversation that we've ever had, no matter what week it is, if it's before the season, during the season, after the season, it's go Army, beat Navy from you. So you said, yeah, we had a good season, but we lost the only game, the most important game, is what you said going into it. It was my first experience of being at an Army Navy game. And I want to thank Eric and your team and all the work that they did. I want to thank the welcoming with open arms. I love that I got to go back to D.C. and then be at Landover, Maryland, inside of the home of the Washington Commanders. It was an incredible event. And where I was in the press box, I had the cadets right in front of me, a sea of them, and just experiencing them the entire time. And if Army did something good, they're cheering. If Army was struggling and having a moment of adversity, they were cheering. It was something important to me because I'm a grandson of World War II veterans of the Air Force as well as the Army and the Navy, and being so a grandson and a grandnephew, I should say, and my mom's dad in the Navy, my dad's dad in the Army. So having the cadets right in front of me, seeing that, the videos that I was able to share, the pictures I was able to share, I know that on the field the game wasn't won by Army, but to me, being there and experiencing a game that I have cared about and watched and has been around kind of my Christmas festivities over the years with my parents really meant the world to me. I'd love to go into that game with you and your takeaways because we didn't get to talk immediately after, and also just what it means to you to look into the stands and to see these men and women. And I mean, to me, it was surreal. I didn't have words. It touched my heart. It's emotional. Everything that goes into it, the opening, just all of the different pieces to celebrate the United States Army before the game even happens. Just what you can say to that, and to the fact that in most cases, since Teddy Roosevelt, we have typically seen a president there, or, in this case this year, a president elect. So just what all of this game means in the sense of the cadets, of the representation of the President of the United States or President-elect, and just everything that goes into honoring our men and women today, tomorrow, and always, because I felt that and the gravity of that beyond the game.
It's a big game, and folks that go there without any skin in the game, not cheering for one team or the other, they think it's the greatest thing in the world. And certainly those fans that attend that are cheering for one of the teams, the if they're cheering for the one that got the victory, they're happy, and those that weren't, it's devastating. So there's certainly a mix of folks there in the stadium, and it's an incredible game. The intensity of that football game, uh, it it it's unmatched in my opinion in any other game. And the emotional investment that the competitors make into that game is incredible. And it's the same on both sides. And certainly disappointing to lose the game. Uh, that like I said, they beat us, and I wish we could have found a way to make more plays and to beat them, and we just didn't do it. And it's the one game you gotta win every year, and we didn't do it. So hopefully next December we'll find a way to play our best and give ourselves a chance. But um, the stadium, the Army Navy game is just so different than perhaps any other game. It's split almost even between the two teams. So there's one team's wearing dark uniforms, the other team's wearing light uniforms, but there's no home or away team. It is a stadium that's almost split 50-50, and that makes it really unique. Um, the the stadium and the fans and all the other things that are going on surrounding the game, it's really hard to kind of uh, see all that stuff, realize all that's going on. Our entire focus as a team becomes what's happening out there on the grass and between the lines, and it is such an intense game. You just feel like every play, the game is hanging in the balance. So, um, there are times where you just notice the crowd, and I notice the Corps of Cadets, and they never cheer louder than they do at that game there. It's a source of pride for them as well, and a big game for them. I know that grads of West Point always talk about their records against Navy, and that's something that they carry with them for a lifetime and take great pride in. So um, it's our responsibility, our obligation to try to represent all of them well, and to try to win that game, along with the men and women that serve in the United States Army and all those that have served in the United States Army, the families that are represented by our soldiers. There's an obligation and a sense of responsibility that we have to them as well. So it makes it a big game, and there often are some VIPs that are there. We don't always have touch points with those people, but the president has been there a couple of times, president-elect a couple of times, and on more than one occasion we've had a chance to meet those folks, and it's pretty special. It's pretty neat for our players to have people like that on the sideline or in the locker room with us.
Jeff Monken here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Jeff, before I let you go here, a few points that I think are extremely important. One of them is your personality and your demeanor. Did it develop over time? Who you talked about on the sidelines, the type of coach that you are, how has that developed? Has it always been the same? Are you the like what's kind of going through the mind? Because I like to learn the personality of the coach. And I have always seen you. I mean, this is how I envision it, and this might make you laugh, it might make you smile, I don't know. But when I see you, Jeff, I see like a general. I don't see somebody who's coaching at Army West Point. I see someone who is acting in such a way of like, we're going to battle. We're going to battle. We have a task at hand. We have things that we have to take care of. I see a serious kind of stone-faced demeanor, but behind all of that, what is the personality of you, and how would you describe yourself as a coach up and down that sideline, and how you kind of feel the game and go with the ebb and flow of the game?
Well, if anybody saw my math grades from when I was in school, they'd never give me any general stars. So
Okay.
that's way above what I'm capable of. I'm just trying to do the best I can for our team,
Yeah.
and we're all different. I'm sure that, you know, if you went into any industry, there's difference between leaders and leadership styles in every industry. There certainly is in college football. Uh, I just I just be myself. I don't know how I'd necessarily describe myself. I think others probably do a better job of that. Guys that have played for us and been in our program probably do a better job of that. But I love to compete. I consider myself a a fierce competitor. Really have a difficult time with defeat. Uh, I love to win, but really hate to lose. Um, I've got a job to do on that sideline, and it's 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 to help our team win, help our staff uh, do the things that they need to make the decisions that we need to make as a coaching staff to give our players the best chance to win. Some of those decisions are just mine that I have to make, and only the head coach can make, and those are the ones that uh, I really probably agonize over more than anything, especially when I don't make the right decision and it costs us. That probably hurts worse than anything. But um, I love the energy and the excitement and the passion of college football, and I I, I really feel that energy and that passion and that excitement when I'm on the sidelines on Saturday. I get into the game and uh, I really probably celebrate the good things and get fired up on the things that don't go so well. A little more animated than others, but that's just who I am. It's just my personality, and my job is to help our team win and to not let emotion get in the way of decisions, and to not allow um, the other things that are going on in the game affect my ability to manage the game and manage our team and our coaching staff. So I'm trying to do the best I can. Doesn't always work, but fortunately we got a good staff and we got a good bunch of guys on our team that are well prepared, and they usually overcome their coaching.
Well, and this season, to extend out, you mentioned your staff. You and your staff with these student athletes put together the most wins in a single season for the Army Black Knights ever with 12. And you did that in a bowl game, getting the 12th, when we found out in the press box going into the Army Navy game that Marshall had pulled out of that game, and then eventually Louisiana Tech took their place. So to look to your staff, to look to your student athletes, to look to the greater sideline that is Army on a historic season of 12 wins, just what that means to you as you look at your staff and as you look at your student athletes, to this specific group and to the leadership that you have. Like you said, your job is to manage and to make some decisions that only you can make, but you also work with other people that within their places are making decisions and trying to create opportunities for success, offense, defense, and special teams. So, what can you say to the staff and the student athletes on a season where Army celebrates more wins in a single season than ever before?
We have a great staff. We've got a great bunch of coaches. They're knowledgeable. Um, they're they're great fundamental teachers. They love our players, and they are really invested in the young men that are in our program as people. And I think that's what makes them most effective. Our players trust in them, and they trust our coaches. They believe in them, and our coaches work really hard to prepare our players so that not only schematically are they understand our schemes offensively, defensively on special teams, but that they are fundamentally sound, that we block and tackle and take care of the ball and do all the things that are important from an individual standpoint to maximize who they can be. Our players practice hard, they work hard. Our off-season workouts are as intense and as focused as any place I've ever seen guys train in the off season. They come in every day with a purpose and a passion. They don't go through the motions. They push each other. They demand uh, a lot of themselves, and they demand a lot of each other. And I think all of those things collectively help maximize who they are as individuals and who we can be as a team. Um, our coaches are experts at what they do. I'm not I'm not qualified to call every offensive play and every defensive front and every special team and coach every single fundamental of every position. That's why we've got assistant coaches and coordinators to do those jobs, and it's my job to help them be prepared to do that as well as possible, with equipping them with the things that they need, with the other people to surround them, the technology, the players, and to drive the culture of this program. And so that's what I try to do, and to keep everybody focused and drive the culture of excellence at Army football.
Yeah, and we have seen, like I said, an excellent season, and we see the wins off the field as well. Things that you talk about on what Army West Point stands on beyond football. Bryson Daly, who very much impressed me this season, NCAA record for rushing touchdowns for a quarterback is now 32, thanks to what he's done this season. Rushed for 1,659 yards, and also has the program record at Army for touchdowns responsible for in a season with 41. Bryson Daly to you means blank. How do we fill in that blank?
Oh, I, I, I don't know where to begin. I mean, he's a tremendous leader. He's a great kid, um, tough as nails, has a really high standard for himself, uh, for the way that he works and prepares and studies and lifts and trains and all of it. Just nobody had higher expectations or standards for him than he could set for himself. But that 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 just permeated the entire locker room in our team. His his commitment to excellence and his uh, the pride that our players, his teammates saw him take in his own preparation. I think that's infectious, and certainly had a great season, obviously. And Coach Worley, our offensive coordinator, did a tremendous job of putting him in position to make plays to help our team. And every one of those touchdowns was just designed to help our team be the best it could be, and for our team to to score touchdowns to win the football game. And he carried a big part of the load for us, but other guys did it too. We had the Joe Moore Award offensive line, which is the top offensive line in the country. Would have been really hard for him to score that many touchdowns without those guys. And
Yeah.
you know, the tight ends and the running backs and the receivers and all those guys that did the work blocking for him. And you know, a lot more quietly, we had a lot of other guys that scored touchdowns and made some really good plays for us throughout the season. And it's never one player, and that's something I think he recognizes and appreciates, and is quick to say when people heap praise on him, and the praise is worthy. It's he's deserved it and earned that. But there's a lot of other guys that went into that season for him, and so we're really proud of him. He certainly leaves some big shoes to fill, but uh, you know, I think that everybody on our team, regardless of what position they play, are going to carry that, you know, that record he set with them as a source of pride, and they should. It's a team accomplishment, and even the defense. You know, the defense keeping other teams off the field and giving our offense plenty of time to have the ball and to have opportunities. You know, that contributes to the touchdowns that we score and the touchdowns that he was able to score. So, really proud of him and just the supporting cast that he had.
I'd be remiss in this final note, Coach, to not ask you about moving forward and just what you can say as you step forward into this 2025-26 season. You already made mention that the off-season regiment is not something of going through the motions. It's people pushing each other to get the best out of each other, and that you see what you do in preparation at Army West Point to be extremely competitive, and that's really anything up against it, you take that and what you do there very seriously every single bit and every step of the way. So just what you want to say about the move forward in closing.
Well, we're not going to have anybody or we're not going to have an influx of transfers from the portal after the spring. We're going to go through spring practice with the guys we've got in workouts right now. We're going to go through summer training with our strength staff all summer long with the same guys. They're the guys that are going to come to preseason camp. They're the ones that are going to kick it off in August, and we're going to play the season with. So the investment that our guys make in the off season makes a big difference. So the work that they put in now, the investment they put into each other, into this brotherhood, that's what's gonna reap the harvest in the fall. And so that's what's exciting about our program. And every program at one time was built like that, recruiting players and developing them and growing them through the program. And that's what we do. And that's what I'm most excited about, is to watch these guys as we go through every step of the off season, as we get into spring practice, which is going to start at the end of this month. And as we go all the way through the summer months up to preseason camp, and then have that freshman class join us and have the 2025 football team set and ready to go. So I'm looking forward to the season. There's certainly a lot out there for us to accomplish, and some things that we'd like to do this season that we weren't able to accomplish in 2024. And so just looking forward to the opportunities to have a chance to do that.
Well, as always, Coach, like I said, from afar, I respected and appreciated and wanted to speak to you. And thanks to your graciousness as well as your staff, I've had the opportunity to do that, and I would like to think it's only the beginning. So Jeff Monken here, Army Black Knights head football coach, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for spending some time with me and let me see behind the curtain, so to speak, and to get a little bit closer to my grandfather who's up in heaven as well, and my great uncle. So I want to say thank you for that.
Thanks a lot. Be Navy.